quotes, infused with the scent of potpourri. The films we commit to memory, crossing the felt ropes, watching from home on my TV, looking at all my eyes can see. They tell me I view obsessively.
Hello and welcome to The Obsessive Viewer. We're a movie and TV podcast that covers a specific topic, be it genre, trope, movie, or show each episode. You can find more of our work at obsessiveviewer.com. And if you want to support the podcast, you can go on Patreon. I'm fumbling this. Oh, here we go. And while every episode will always be free, if you'd like to support what we do here, you can become a patron at patreon.com/obsessiveviewer for tons of bonus audio content, including TV and book reviews, immediate reaction movie reviews, Patreon potpourri episodes, movie commentary tracks, and much more. Again, that's at patreon.com/obsessiveviewer. So I'm your host, Matt Hurt, and you can find me on social media and on Letterboxd at Obsessive Viewer. And joining me today is recurring co-host and creator of themoviestate.com, Mr. Ben Sears. How is it going, Ben?
I'm doing good. How have you been?
Pretty good. We just recorded a B-roll thing where we talked about RRR, really. And a bunch of stuff, so that was a lot of fun. So tonight on the podcast, we're going to review two new releases. I wrote this all out. The acrophobic thriller Fall, currently in theaters, and the new Netflix original vampire action movie, Day Shift. But first, I want to just say up top, I want to yield the floor to Ben to talk about what he's got going on over at themoviestate.com. So Ben, how are you doing over on the Movie State, and what do you got going on up there?
Let's see. Not sure as of this recording any movie reviews that I'll be posting. Hopefully going to be doing the new Game of Thrones spinoff,
nice.
House of the Dragon, right?
Yeah.
That's what it's called. Which, as of this episode's release, will come out in about a week or so.
Oh, yeah, that is coming up,
maybe less than a week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
No, less than a week. But yeah, hopefully that'll be coming out. Let's see. I'm also, this will have been live for a couple days when this episode drops, but I'll be adding a new feature on the homepage of the website, a weekly poll question, just for fun.
Nice.
Just various movie and TV related questions. Right now, the question is, what's your favorite Steven Spielberg movie?
Oh, nice.
Just in honor of the E.T. 40th anniversary.
Oh, yeah.
And it coming back to IMAX for a week or two, I think.
Yeah.
You can go and vote on that. New questions will come up on every Monday morning. What are you looking forward to in September, or what movie do you think will win the Golden Lion at Venice Film Festival, or what's your favorite TV show?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Just stuff like that. If anybody has any suggestions for poll questions, let us know.
Nice. That's awesome. I'm excited for that. What is your pick for favorite Spielberg movie?
Oh boy. I don't know. I mean, it probably changes depending on the mood that I'm in.
Yeah.
But gut reaction, I might actually say Catch Me If You Can.
Oh, nice.
I really like that movie. I remember very fondly seeing it in the theater with my family.
Nice.
Leo and Tom Hanks, and fantastic script and fantastic score. Even the opening credits, I remember, are really great.
Oh yeah.
And I have not watched it in a long time, so I need to watch it again soon.
Nice. I concur.
I'm guessing. Nice. I see what you did there.
Nice.
I'm guessing yours would be Jurassic Park.
I was trying to think. It would probably be either Jurassic Park or Saving Private Ryan. It's
okay.
I don't know. It's so hard to pick one, and it is insane. Sometimes I'll think about this, like granted, I mean, he's been working for decades, and he's Spielberg, like he's an institution, but like just the staggering amount of like greatest achievements that like the breadth of the classic films of him in his catalog is insane. Like just it's insane. Yeah,
it was hard to pick which ones I would choose to be able to vote on. I mean, I could make it out of like 20 options if I wanted, but I'm not going to do that. Nice. I mean, really, you could say just about anything and you wouldn't be wrong,
right?
Unless like it was like The Terminal or something. Or the latest Indiana Jones movie.
Oh yeah. You know, and it's funny because I don't mind The Terminal. That's a movie that I kind of have like a little bit of a soft spot for, because I remember it came out like right around the time I was working in the movie theater.
Yeah.
And
same here.
Yeah. And like, it was one of those ones that it was like, oh, I get to see it early. Like they showed it the night before to test the projection and everything. Yeah. I would say my top 5 per my ratings on Letterboxd is, I guess Jurassic Park, Schindler's List, Saving Private Ryan, Jaws, and Raiders.
Okay.
Yeah, with E.T. right at the on the.
I don't have very many blind spots for him, but one that I'm going to watch before we do our next Ebert episode is Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Nice.
So I'm excited to check that one out.
Nice. You haven't seen Close Encounters?
I have not.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay. That's very interesting. Is it on the list? On the Ebert list? Okay. Yeah, I've got only, probably 12 movies of his I haven't seen.
Okay.
Yeah, or maybe less than 12. Yeah, I don't know, but yeah. Oh, that's including The Fabelmans. Yeah. Anyway.
Oh,
yeah. So check out themoviestate.com. Good work you're doing over there, Ben. And
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, so what is there anything else that came up, any like news or anything that we want to talk about, or do we want to jump into the reviews, or how do we want to proceed?
I don't know, nothing too exciting. I probably should have brought this up on Patreon, but I kind of want to get your thoughts on this. We're approaching the fall film festival season.
Yes.
And I know we've talked in the past about what film festival you would most want to attend.
Oh, yeah.
But I was not aware of this until recently. The Telluride Film Festival, they don't announce their lineup until like the day before or the day of it starting.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Huh.
I didn't know about that. And I don't know how I feel about that, to be honest.
Yeah, that's... Huh. I don't know. I could kind of play devil's advocate and say that, like, oh, that would be neat if they do like a hybrid in-person virtual one. Like that could be kind of neat to kind of go in blind, I guess. But I'm just trying to think of the logistics of it. Like, how do people figure out what they're going to see? Like what? Like what?
Yeah, I know. Well, and it only lasts for a weekend. This year, it's September 2nd through 5th.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, it's not even all that long like Heartland or Venice. So you really got to fly by the seat of your pants.
Yeah, no kidding. Wow.
I mean, if you're a nerd and you like follow the news of every film festival announcement and all that, you kind of get an idea of what's going to be there and what's not. But still, that you still have to plan when you're going to see things.
Yeah, that's true. I do kind of like that. Like, when, like, pre-pandemic, when I would basically get the press pass for Heartland, I would basically just I would like, it was kind of a nice ritual that I did where I would basically pick up a copy of the program that they had at like the movie theaters and everything before, like the week before the festival, and I would like spend like my breaks at work and everything going through and circling the ones that I want to see. And I'd like make a list and everything, and then I'd look on like the insert that had like the block scheduling for all the screenings, and I'd be like, okay, if I see this, then I'd have enough time to then see this after that. But if I see this then I won't be able to see that then. And like I would basically block out like an entire, like multiple days worth of just screenings. And it's such a blast. It's so much fun. So I can kind of see the fun of kind of doing like a blind one of that. I think would be interesting. Hell, maybe I could try that with Heartland this year. Just like basically before I see anything, like in terms of what it is, just like pick a day and just be like, okay, I'm gonna see 3 movies this day, see where it the scheduling plans out, or like what fits in, and I can just hit 3 screenings in one day or something. Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, I didn't know that about Telluride. That's interesting.
Yeah.
I just posted my review of Day Shift.
Okay.
The embargo, the embargo lifted just now, so I'm excited.
Oh, right, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I sort of posted my sort of review earlier today.
Oh, really?
Doesn't count as a review.
Mm-hmm. Did you post it on Letterboxd?
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, I'm not going to write anything.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, I and it's interesting because I have not seen what you posted or what you rated it. So I'm eager to get into the conversation with you. But I think we're gonna first talk about Fall, actually, just because that's what I have. The way my notes are all worked out and everything. Do you want to go ahead and go into our reviews tonight?
Let's do it. All
right, great. So we are going to be reviewing Fall and Day Shift tonight. Of course, what we're going to do is we are going to do a non-spoiler and spoiler review for each movie. So I have timestamps in the show notes of this episode. The show notes can be found at obsessiveviewer.com/OV379 and in your podcast app. So first up tonight, we're going to be talking about Fall, which is in theaters now, directed by Scott Mann, written by Jonathan Frank and Scott Mann. It stars Grace Carolyn Curry, Virginia Gardner, Mason Gooding, and Jeffrey Dean Morgan. It hit theaters on August 12th, and the plot summary is... Oh my god, I don't have it on here. The plot summary, courtesy of IMDb. Just bear with me one moment. Okay, here we go. Okay, the plot summary for Fall... Oh, I loaded up the wrong one. Okay, best friends Becky and Hunter find themselves at the top of a 2,000-foot radio tower. Okay, so Ben, in non-spoilers, what were your expectations for Fall, and how did you feel about it overall?
Yeah, I didn't really have very high expectations. I read the premise and I thought it sounded interesting, but I wasn't sure how interesting it would be for like if it could sustain itself for an entire movie. I feel like there have been similar movies made, like what was that? Was it Open Water?
Yeah.
Way back in the early 2000s, where the couple is just in the open water and there's a shark that comes to attack them. Like movies like that, where it's just a simple survival kind of premise, are not very long. And I was kind of thinking this would be, 90 minutes or so.
Yeah.
And then I saw it's like 107 minutes and I was like, oh, all right, what are we doing here? Yeah. And I think those fears turned out to be a little true. It is I don't know if I'd say thrilling experience, but it's it gets the blood pumping, or at least it did for me. I do not really do heights, which kind of sucks because I work on the 31st floor of a building. But I don't do heights all that much intentionally, and I never really have. And this definitely reminded me why. And I definitely don't do any like extreme sports or climbing or anything like that. And this again reminded me why. And I thought it was okay. It's not really a movie that I'll ever come back to, I'm sure. I think the performances are okay. I think when it gets more into the character stuff, it kind of loses its hold. And I thought it looked okay too. I mean, as much as it would probably ramp up my anxiety, I would be interested to see this in the theater. Just for the visuals, to see if they hold up on the big screen. And actually, that reminds me, I had this weird experience while watching it, and I've never had this happen before, and I doubt that anyone else did. It might just be unique to me, but I watched this on my iPad with my headphones in, and the sound came through on both sides, but whenever someone talked, it just came through on my left headphone.
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah. It was super weird and kind of disorienting, and I don't know why. Like I said, it's never done that before on any other movie that I've watched before. I don't know if it was a technical issue with my iPad or my headphones or what, but
I would, because I mean my experience was fine. Like, and I have my surround sound set up, so like the dialogue was coming through like on both sides. So that's interesting. Huh.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah. So I am absolutely horrified of heights. Like that is, it's so interesting to me that I, like when I talk to Mike about horror movies, like Mike is, he is completely, he will watch anything that's attached to the horror genre. And like me, I'm a little bit more picky. I'm like, okay, if I'm like the thought of like the human centipede, that grosses me out so much. Like I've heard that like, oh, in terms of like visual effects and gore and everything there, it's pretty much like it's pretty tame compared to it. Like I think that I'm more grossed out at the premise than what I would be watching it. But just the idea of it horrifies me and grosses me out so much. So I will avoid movies specifically because if they have too much like really bad like gore and stuff. Like the later Saw movies I never watched because the third one just kind of like I couldn't take it. I was just like, no, I'm good. Yeah. So I have that. And then what I realized watching Fall last night was that there's an entirely different side of things that I don't know if I can handle all that well. And when watching Fall and seeing like it's really interesting. It's a feather in the cap of the movie that it has what I assume is a relatively small budget, but the visual effects were pretty sound throughout it. There's some shaky stuff here and there in terms of like green screen effects, and like there's some that just takes you out of the movie just a little bit, but for the most part, like the actual depiction of that height, that far up, like just the idea of it and the hopelessness of it, I was incredibly tense throughout the movie. Like I was wiping my hands because I was sweating. Like my palms were incredibly sweaty. It was so intense I didn't even want to make the 8 Mile reference or anything.
Oh man, I was just about to do that.
Yep. And like like you said, it gets the blood pumping and everything. And I'm like, this is a very visceral kind of experience. And I think that it's very much due to the fact that I can't do heights. Like I have no idea why or how anyone can do things like that. Like I have no idea what it is. Like when I saw Free Solo, I was like, I don't understand. I literally cannot grasp what it is, because anytime I see like even like construction workers on like high rise like scaffolding and stuff like that, I don't understand how someone can be more than 5 feet off the ground and not be horrified at the thought of falling. Like I can't rationalize that. So
yeah, and I feel like I've heard that like the most dangerous job in America is the people that go up on the cell towers and the radio towers and go up and fix them. So that just knowing that in the back of my mind just made it even worse.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And yeah, so this movie definitely struck a nerve with me. And I appreciated it for that reason. I actually really enjoyed it for that reason. But I kind of, as the more I get away from it in the last 24 hours, and the more I think about it, like so much of everything else about it just kind of didn't really work for me as well as the tension did. So it'll be interesting to talk in more detail, but basically like the personal drama between the two leads, I felt like, first of all, they telegraphed it way too hard. It was painfully obvious. And that kind of undercut some things there. And then even in that respect, when there's like a significant like moment that is treated like a twist that is effective, but also kind of just undercuts the emotional drama between the two characters because it leaves that sort of unresolved. Or it kind of leaves that aside in service of a plot twist kind of thing. And then I last night after I logged it and everything, our friend Nick Rogers from Midwest Film Journal, he messaged me and like mentioned like, yeah, I just had these problems with it and everything. And like he mentioned 3 specific movies that this movie just blatantly rips off, like in terms of like storyline and situation, and like that kind of opened the door for me. And I was like, that's why the interpersonal drama between the two characters didn't work for me, because it's literally like it is beat for beat the exact thing that happens in a somewhat similar movie from a couple, like probably 20 years ago. So it's just like ever since then, I'm like, I can't even like the limited characterization, the limited character drama in this movie is just, it is blatantly ripped off, and it just feels, it makes me feel icky with it. But yeah. And it probably didn't help that, like I said, the performances just weren't really anything to write home about. I mean, you get the fear of them, and I think that what's the girl's name that plays? Is it Hunter? Virginia Gardner. Yeah. I liked her to some extent, but anytime there's any kind of a drama between the two of them, it just kind of deflates the movie. Absolutely. It's really kind of a shame, because honestly, like the depiction of like that, the confinement aspect of it is done really well. Like even throughout the movie, like they have different, like with any type of movie, or with any movie that is this similar type, like isolated, you know, like you said, they need to find ways to stretch it. They need to find ways to make it fresh throughout the entire runtime. And I feel like they did a pretty admirable job here, because they have these different ideas that they work with and try and everything, and each one is kind of different from the last, and there's some pretty interesting ways that the movie kind of stretches it out. A couple of things don't really work. Some of the setbacks that they faced seemed a little bit. There's one in particular that we can talk about in spoilers, but I was just like, I don't understand why. Like that just felt like it was padding the runtime a bit.
Yeah, exactly. I think I know what you're talking about. Okay. But yeah, we'll talk about it.
Yeah. And then also, I don't understand, and again, this is something we'll talk about in more detail in spoilers, but the movie just kind of, like when we get to the ending, it's just like, oh, okay, well, the movie's over now. Like it felt very tacked on. And it was like they ran out of money and they were like, okay, well, we need to figure this out. We need to do this. And then it was weird to me. Yeah,
I think I read that the budget was only $3 million.
Oh, wow.
So,
interesting.
Considering all that and seeing the visuals and the how they were able to practically do some of these things, I think that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, I'm actually pretty impressed with that. That's wild. Huh.
Yeah. And I read that the platform that they're on for most of the movie, they were on like a 60-foot platform.
Oh, wow.
They weren't just like on a sound stage.
Oh, wow.
I mean, they might have been, but they were still like 60 feet in the air.
Nice.
So, which is, I don't know, probably like billboard height, maybe.
Yeah. That's wild. I found myself throughout the movie, or like at the beginning of the movie, by the time, one of the things I really liked about the movie actually is the way that it very slowly gets us to that point. It very slow, like the tension of them climbing the radio tower, it's done really well. Like it is very suspenseful. But once they got up there and they get trapped up there, I kept thinking, like, in the first run of it, I kept thinking, like, okay, they're actors. They can just step off. It's fine. Like their floor is right there.
Yeah. And you had mentioned Free Solo, and like, I remember watching that. I remember getting a little bit of anxiety while watching that, but surprisingly not to the extent that I was during this. I don't think. I mean, it's been a while, but
interesting.
I thought that was pretty effective.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Did you hear about how they did I think they did like deep fake technology to cut out, I think, like upwards of like 30 F-bombs so that they could get to a PG-13?
Oh, right. Yeah. I think I saw a headline for that, but not, I didn't read the article. Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't read it fully either, but I'll put a link in the show notes, of course. But I've got to say, like, I was kind of impressed with that. Like, because I read it, or I heard about that before I saw the movie, and throughout the movie, I'm like trying to like detect where it was. There's one scene where I think Becky says like, "Oh, we got the frickin' thing," and I'm like, okay, well that's pretty obvious, but but yeah, I was kind of impressed. I was like, okay, fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why they ran out of money and the ending had to be tacked on.
Yeah. Yep.
I also like, especially like when they're climbing and a little bit before that, I kind of like, I was putting myself in Becky's shoes, and I was like, I would just nope out of this pretty quickly. Like Hunter is just kind of a dick to her. Like that whole time that they're preparing for it and climbing up, she's kind of a dick.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I feel like the movie does not do an adequate job of explaining to us or really pitching us on the reason that she agrees to it. I mean, to a certain extent, there is a little bit of the whole like spreading the ashes aspect of it. That I'm like, okay, that makes sense. But also, like, why? Like, I can't fathom. Like, there's a jump between, you know, wanting to do this to spread the ashes of your deceased loved one, but also like between that and the fact that, oh, you're doing something that is incredibly dangerous that resulted in the same kind of thing resulted in the death of your loved one. And it's even more extreme. Like, it just felt like the movie was trying to really just like skirt around the clear, like, I don't know.
They were trying to get from point A to point B and weren't really figuring out a way to get there.
Exactly. Like, and I think that Hunter being such a dick about it too, like, I feel like I would have been a little bit more, I would probably would have been a little bit more okay with it if it was more of, if Becky was more, you know, was less resistant to it. Like, because she is the one who went through this trauma, and she's the one who has spent nearly a year, like, kind of just completely in grief and you know, not being, you know, not healing from it. So to then have Hunter come and like be like, hey, you need to come do this incredibly dangerous thing with me that is going to remind you of your dead husband. And even when you freak out and you don't want to do it, I'm going to try to convince you to do it and everything. Like, that's something that, again, just the fact that they do these things, like that people do these things, like not being able to recognize that like your friend is in a very emotionally fragile and not good headspace when like moments before doing this activity, like that should be like a complete like, no, let's nope out of it. Yeah.
I forget who it was. One of our mutual friends in the IFJA had written this in their letterbox review, but it went something along the lines of like the idea of getting through trauma by going through an even worse trauma is like disconcerting at best.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that.
And I apologize to whoever wrote that for not crediting you accurately, but if I could find it quickly and easily, I would.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, I can't. I totally agree. I'm trying to see. Maybe it was Nick. Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, I really don't understand that. Like the logic behind that is pretty flawed. Yeah. Yeah, I try to, it's so hard to reconcile those issues that I have with the movie because again, like the script does not do like with a stronger script in terms of like dialogue and just placement of characters, like reasoning, motivations, all of this. With a better script, this could have been an incredible movie, but it just kind of falls a little bit by the wayside because of a pretty weak script and lacking character drama or characterization. Yeah.
I will say like I said, when I read the premise and was starting to do the mental gymnastics in my head of like how they were going to be able to stretch this premise for that long, I kind of figured there would be like some flashbacks.
Yeah.
But there weren't, and I'm okay with that. I feel like that would have like diminished the drama of them being stuck up there, you know?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Like if they had cut away to flashbacks and everything, yeah, I agree. It would have kind of killed some of the tension. I think that having it entirely on the confined like platform and everything, I think that was a very wise choice. But yeah, if they had cut around it or cut back and forth from it, I think it would have been, yeah, it wouldn't have been good.
Yeah. I found the reviewer on Letterboxd. It was actually not someone from the IFJ. It was a guy named Daniel Baer.
Oh, okay.
So, kudos to you, Daniel.
Nice. Nice. Yeah, I'm trying to think of more non-spoiler stuff. I will say, just kind of in vague terms, a couple of the setbacks, or not setbacks, but one of the challenges of it. I mean, again, it's something that's telegraphed pretty hard. I mean, it's foreshadowed. It doesn't matter. But anyway, it's an extended sequence where I felt like it was really, and I'll talk more in detail in spoilers, but I thought it was really a good stretch or a good show of how completely implausible it is for them to even be rescued or anything, because like one of the characters is doing this thing that is like an incredible like feat of athleticism just to get something done so that they can try one thing that has like the smallest like sliver of hope that they could get rescued. And it was like, I just thought that was a really interesting sequence. Yeah. Do you want to go into spoilers for Fall?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Before we get into spoilers, I'm just going to say our ratings. If you'd like, So I basically, when watching the movie, I was like, this, fuck it. This could be a 4-star movie, 4 out of 5 stars. It could, like, I was really, really into it. And then I just couldn't bring myself to do it because of basically that was a knee-jerk reaction to the tension alone. And that's such, it's a big component of the movie, but it's also a very, it is only a component of the movie. So I have it at 3 stars. And I've contemplated dropping it down to 2.5, but I have it at 3 stars. It's fun. It accomplishes what it sets out to do. What's your rating for Fall?
Mine is 2.5 out of 5.
Nice.
I've seen a lot of 2-star reviews, and I can't totally argue with that. But like I said, the adrenaline pumping moments, they work.
Yeah.
I would be curious to get the reactions of people as they come out of the theater and see what they think.
Oh, absolutely.
And I've seen some pretty positive reviews of this. I was kind of surprised.
Wow.
Like the AV Club and I think Variety had pretty positive reviews. Wow. I'm on Rotten Tomatoes right now, and it's at 70%.
Oh, wow. Huh.
So, yeah.
Interesting. I feel like there's something to be said about, I mean, it is a blockbuster thriller kind of thing. It is an original property.
It's an indie thriller.
Yeah, indie thriller. And the scope is pretty impressive. And even with the contrivances in the plot and the derivative nature of a lot of the movie, it still kind of has that. It satisfies where it counts. It satisfies in the thriller aspect, the excitement and everything, the adrenaline part. So I guess that's, yeah. But we're going to go into spoilers for Fall. Of course, check the show notes if you want to skip around and get to our next review, but we're going to play a clip from the trailer, and then when we come back, we're going to be spoiling Fall, so stay tuned for that.
What was that? Oh my God! Hunter, how do we get down? We don't have a signal.
Our water is down there in that bag.
We have 50 feet of rope. I think I can drop myself lower. Okay, I'm gonna jump onto the bag. Hunter, no.
Okay, so first off, with spoilers, I want to talk about how painfully obvious it was that Hunter was having an affair or had slept with Dan. And it was just very poorly set up. Like, there's no way, like, it felt like it came up kind of, it was very expected, and it just kind of took me out of it. Having said that, I did sort of appreciate the reveal, like when Becky finds out, when she sees the tattoo. I thought that was kind of a nice touch, but I was just like, this is just completely like lazy storytelling. How did you feel about that and the drama between them about Dan?
Yeah, I don't think it was as obvious to me as it was to you, but I more or less saw it coming. And when it was revealed, I didn't care.
Yeah.
It didn't matter.
Yeah.
I mean, what's the point of getting mad about something like that when you're about to die?
I kind of had that thought too. Like, they're literally like they're on like they are in
They're running out of options.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And I think take that beat out of the movie and it doesn't really change anything.
It really doesn't. Like, I mean, I think that a smarter script would have really like hammered it home into tying it into Becky's grief and like what her father was telling her outside the bar about how she's putting Dan on this pedestal and he was no good for her or anything. And it's like that also feels just very loose and circumstantial, or it feels like it just doesn't, it feels like it's hitting these beats that's like, okay, well, we have this character, like we have this insane premise, so now we need to kind of fill in the blanks with some character drama and then not focus on that nearly enough, and that makes the movie a little lopsided for me. Yeah. Yeah, it just felt like a really easy plot route too. And again, I don't want to say what movie it is, but like there is a similar movie somewhat that it follows literally beat for beat that same thing. Woman's husband dies. Woman does this kind of extreme kind of sport thing, goes with her friends on a trip, and then her husband dies, and in her grief, she is roped back into going to do this thing, and finds out on the trip that her best friend was sleeping with her husband. Like it is beat for beat that same thing, and it's really irritating.
You'll have to text me what movie it is, because I don't think I know what it is off the top of my head.
Yeah.
Even though I read next review.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm texting it to you now just because.
I also thought that the very ending, like the way that Becky finally gets rescued was kind of funny, unintentionally funny.
Yeah, I kind of cackled. I didn't have any problems with it. I thought that was pretty, it was pretty crazy. And I was just like, that's pretty neat. Like putting the shoe in Hunter's body. Is that what you're referring to? Yeah. Yeah. I was just like, it was a good like shock surprise kind of thing.
I don't know. I thought that the movie was kind of playing it up as this like this extension of their friendship and their bond, but it was just kind of funny in just how it was executed. Like she's tossing her body off so that it will basically explode upon impact, and then like yes, she is the reason that she'll be saved, but I thought it was fun. I kind of enjoyed that. What did you make of the kind of plot twist where we find out that Hunter died when she went down to get the water, and Becky had been hallucinating her there to give her, the strength to persevere and win or survive. What did you feel? How did you feel about that? I thought it was, I don't know. It didn't, I think at that point I was more or less checked out. Mm-hmm. So, it didn't really affect me too much. It was not really surprising, because of the logistics of like her going down there, and I don't know. I was okay with it. Like I said, I didn't care at that point.
Yeah, I was still invested in the movie, and I was pretty okay with that reveal, if only because I appreciated the way that it kind of calls back to that kind of dream sequence that she has where she sees the vulture just gnawing at Hunter. I thought that was effective foreshadowing for that. But it also just felt like I said in non-spoiler, it felt like it was kind of just taking away from the drama of the affair and everything. It felt like it didn't adequately resolve that for me. Like, we don't get, like, she gets this shocker where she's like, oh, you were sleeping with Dan. And then it's like, well, yeah, but we're on a 2,000-foot high platform and we're going to die. So, maybe let's not.
Priorities.
Yeah. And then it just feels like that isn't as monumental a thing. And then she just up and dies. And it's like, okay, well, that doesn't really resolve the tension of that in any significant enough way for me. But it's also a movie that doesn't really do much to set up the characterization and any character arcs, so I can't really complain too much about it.
Right.
Yeah. There was another. Oh yeah. Also, just, and this is totally nitpicking. I'm not going to let this be like this didn't bear on the on my overall rating of the movie, but I did think like it stretched a little bit of credulity. It made me think that it was a little funny that that her cell phone lasted through multiple days.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, I
it
was
must
like,
have been a brand new cell phone.
Right. Yeah. So I just felt like that was a little bit. Yeah, it felt like it was a little bit. I don't know.
I also like, you're like one of the only friends of mine that has a non-iPhone.
Oh, yeah.
And I feel like anytime that I try to text you something and it doesn't go through, I have to manually resend it. And maybe it's just because I'm, I don't know, like maybe if I were to like try and wait until I move to somewhere to get a signal, it would send itself, but I haven't experienced that yet. So just the logistics of that kind of didn't check out for me exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, it did seem like kind of hoping on a wing and a prayer, really.
Yes.
Which is also kind of part and parcel with the whole movie, because like I said in non-spoiler, that whole like the dumb life hack with the light bulb.
Yeah.
Fine. I was like, that's fine.
Did you also wonder why the hell it's just a regular light bulb up in this TV tower?
Kinda. And
that
like,
can't be accurate, can it?
Yeah, I don't think so. And just the fact that it's easily like unscrewed, like that was a bit much.
Yeah, you don't need a screwdriver or anything.
Yeah. I did appreciate, like, with no snark, I did appreciate that like her wedding ring is what helped to do that. I was like, that's kind of nice.
Yeah.
But the fact that she was doing that so that she can charge a drone so that she could fly it in the general direction of the motel with a note attached to it, hoping that someone like reads it. And then also just the fact that it completely fails is kind of
she
amazing.
Couldn't see this semi truck coming from 2,000 feet up.
Yep.
But also, like, when she is trying to get that drone charged, like, I'm going to need to talk to people that use drones regularly about how quickly these things charge, because she's up there holding it there while she is, starved and dehydrated, and she's, hanging on to a pole and just for however long this takes and fighting off vultures.
Yeah.
And
I would be willing to bet, from my incredibly like limited knowledge of drones, I know nothing. I know that they they only like they're not. From what I understand, like flying them, like it doesn't. There's not a lot of fly time with it.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and especially when you're that high up.
yeah. So I can get that, but also yeah, also even if she wasn't dehydrated and all of that, like she's also been out of practice with the whole climbing thing for almost a year. Like
I had that same thought too, like
Yeah.
even before that.
yeah. Like I can't, that's not something you do spur of the moment after. Like it would be like, honestly, it would be like if you spent 51 weeks drinking instead of like training for marathons and stuff, and then you ran like an entire marathon
Without walking.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I would die.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. So yeah. So it does kind of like, you can pick it apart, but also like I don't know. I was still in the moment. I was kind of, I was suspending my disbelief pretty hard for it.
Right.
I do want to talk about one more kind of thing, and that's the whole the guys in the RV and them stealing her car. I was just like, that just feels like almost every other scenario that they come up with. Like the movie does a pretty good job, or a pretty respectable job, of making the variety of things that they do to try to escape. Like they do a pretty good job of making it a strong variety of things and make it make sense and everything. But just like, oh, these guys just ended up stealing the, like, it didn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that didn't really feel authentic. I mean, maybe it feels generous to say this, but maybe the movie is saying something about humanity and its unwillingness to help out people in need. Yeah. No,
Yeah.
that's the best I could do for that.
Yeah, honestly, and this would have been this honestly would have been a probably better. I would have been fine with this had this scenario played out, but they have the binoculars, and I think Hunter, like, either jokingly or sincerely says, I think they might be lovers or something, and hiding out here and everything. And I was like, okay, but like, it would have been just as easy to like have them, and maybe it's in this, I don't know, but have them mistake like the grill for something else, and like have it show that like they're like cooking meth or something, or doing something like super shady, and that's why they stole the car.
Yeah.
Like that would have made a little bit more sense for me, but that just felt like, I was just like, okay, it did nothing for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The last thing that I'll say is that I kind of wish that they would have included Becky actually getting rescued at the end.
Me too.
I understand like they probably didn't have the budget for that.
Right.
But like I was thinking, like, even after, if this text or whatever goes through after she drops the phone, even after that gets through, it's gonna take these rescue people hours just to formulate a plan for how to get her down from there. Like, how would they get someone like on a helicopter and drop them down there, kind of like in the Coast Guard or whatever? That's
what I was thinking too. Like, I mean, because even then, like, a helicopter, like, that could kill her, like the wind and everything, like that, like how, I don't know how, like, and I wish that they would have shown it or done something, but it just felt so weird that it just jumps to her dad and then like the rescue has occurred. I just felt like that is so weird. That's just it. Yeah. So yeah, but yeah, overall, I don't really have much else to say about it. I thought the tension and everything was good, and that really carried it through for me. And I don't know, I feel like maybe 3 stars might be a little generous, but I definitely had that kind of that adrenaline pumping experience.
Yeah.
So I can't fault it too hard for its faults.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
And I agree. And the thing that holds it back, well, one of the things that holds it back for me is just like, I don't think I'll ever watch this again or really think too much about it after this.
Same here. Yeah. So, all right. Well, that's our review of Fall. It is currently in theaters. Let us know what you thought of it and if you're excited about it, all that stuff. Yeah. So, now we're going to shift gears into the new Netflix movie Day Shift, which so here we go. Day Shift is on Netflix. It premiered on Netflix August 12th. I have a written review on obsessiveviewer.com for it, but the premise is a hardworking blue-collar dad who just wants to provide a good life for his quick-witted 8-year-old daughter. His mundane, that is poor grammar because it's a completely new sentence. His mundane San Fernando Valley pool cleaning job is a front for his real source of income, hunting and killing vampires. Directed by J.J. Perry in his directorial debut, and written by Shay Hatton and Tyler Tice. The movie stars Jamie Foxx, Dave Franco, Snoop Dogg, Carla Souza, and Megan Good. So Ben, you had mentioned we were talking about potential movies we could review with Fall, and you threw this out there as something that could be interesting, and we both grabbed it and watched it. What attracted you to this, if anything, and what were your kind of broad overall thoughts on it, and non-spoilers?
Yeah, I really didn't have high expectations for this. I remembered seeing like a promo teaser or an email from Netflix about it when they announced it. I don't remember when. But I just thought that the cast sounded interesting and the premise sounded a little interesting. But I kind of figured at the end of the day, it would just be more Netflix stuff that would just be forgotten in a week.
Yeah.
And maybe that'll be the case with this, but I don't know. But I was pleasantly surprised. I kind of figured it would just be, just kind of a generic action thing from Netflix that just throwing a bunch of shit at the wall and seeing what sticks.
Yep.
And I think there's some really interesting ideas here and some good comedy and some good action. And I think the cast works pretty well together for the most part. And yeah, I was pleasantly surprised.
Nice. I kind of had a similar thought. I don't know. In 2020, did you see Project Power?
I didn't. I didn't even really remember what it was called, but I remembered there was another Netflix action-ish movie with Jamie Foxx last year that kind of came and went.
Yeah, I remember it. It came out in 2020, and I remember watching it, and I went back and read my review. Jamie Foxx is really the only connection to Project Power and Day Shift, but it is kind of part and parcel with that Netflix thing, like the throw everything at the wall and see what sticks kind of formula. And Project Power definitely has that the tonal similarity to this movie. But what I found interesting also, just as an anecdote, reading back on my review of Project Power from 2020, I gave it a glowing review. Like, I rated it 4 stars, and I think it was because it was 2020, and like I open it with something like, there's a dearth of blockbuster stuff now because of the world, and this is very much satisfying that itch for me. But Anyway, now with Day Shift, this felt like, for me, I was very surprised because I had very low, not even low expectations. I had no expectations. I was like, yeah, it seems like it could be interesting. I loved the very frenetic and crazy, stylish action that felt like it was kind of John Wick-y. I put in my notes, John Wick Vampire Hunter, and like in my review, I point out like it's not really a surprise that it's like John Wick, because J.J. Perry, on his filmography, he has a long list of stunt work that he did, including being stunt coordinator or like executive stunt coordinator or something for John Wick Chapter 2, and he did stunt work on John Wick. Also, I thought this was interesting. He one of his credits was for stunt work on the 2017 Dark Tower movie.
I was just about to bring that up.
And
yes,
you know what's interesting about that is that there is a moment in this movie that I went back and I rewatched it today to make sure that the scene, that the sequence was how I remembered it being. But so in the Dark Tower, Dark Tower, like, it was terrible, but the like 2 or 3 action sequences that movie had were pretty fine. They were okay. But there's like one moment where Roland is reloading his revolver by, he throws his like thing of bullets, like the little circular thing of bullets, into the air and then spins around or something, and then he slams the pistol down and loads it in midair and fires it. And like here in this movie, there's a scene where like there are 2 characters, these brother characters, who are there. It's in the middle of this big fight sequence, this big action sequence. And like one of them's out of bullets, and he's like, hey, give me a bullet or whatever. And then the other one like ejects the bullet from his gun and like throws, like it flies through the air, and then the other guy just comes down on it and gets it and shoots it. And I was like, that's pretty cool. And I was like, that reminds me vaguely of the Dark Tower. So I thought that was kind of interesting.
That was really cool.
Yeah. But I mean, the set pieces in this movie were very satisfying to me. Even though, and like, it's going to be the same kind of issues that I had with Fall, but the story surrounding it, I didn't really care about all that much. Like, the plot, there's like, it's a contrived reason to get him to need $10,000 in a very short amount of time so that his family doesn't move away. And it's like, okay, but like, that's fine. And then you have the whole secret union thing that feels like the John Wick thing, whatever it was called. And it just feels like a by the numbers kind of thing, like an algorithm thing. But I think that despite those issues, the action and the choreography, the action and everything was very well done, very well handled. And I really liked the kind of buddy aspect between Dave Franco and Jamie Foxx. I think them paired together was a lot of fun.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and to talk about the whole John Wick of it all,
mm-hmm.
It kind of drives me nuts when critics just refer to any action movie as trying to be like a John Wick ripoff.
Like and John Wick Vampire Hunter.
No, like The Gray Man earlier this year,
yeah.
Which I don't think you've seen yet.
I haven't.
And you shouldn't. But I remember a couple of reviewers had said that it was kind of trying to be a John Wick kind of action movie, when really all that they mean by that is an action movie. But I think what sets the John Wick movies apart for me is the world building in them.
Yeah.
Like, yes, there are action sequences in that are better than most action movies, but at the end of the day, that's not what I love about those movies.
Right.
It's the world building and the bureaucracy and all of that. That's kind of the foundation for those things.
Yeah.
And this movie had both of those. I liked, especially early on, when you don't really get too much info about how it works and all of that. I thought that was really interesting, how there's this underground system of how this whole vampire hunting thing works. And knowing that the director was pretty close with the John Wick movies really helps to explain that. So I think it is finally apt to call this a kind of John Wick-esque action movie.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that a big part of, I think there are ways to make or to take influence from like a movie or a franchise like John Wick, which, I mean, it's hard not to, because it is so distinctive, but there are ways to take influence from it versus like kind of ripping off it or riffing off of it even. Like, yeah. I think back to like Hotel Artemis, and I didn't actually see Nobody, but it just feels like that kind of same core premise and everything. But here we have this pretty unique take on, vampires and vampire hunting and everything in the style of, and with the like frenetic energy of John Wick choreography. And I think that that's where the balance comes in to make it stand out and make it not, make more sense and make it more unique, and using it as an influence.
Yeah, definitely. There were, there's a lot of really good action scenes in this, and not only action scenes, but there's a really cool car chase.
Yes,
kind of midway through.
Mm-hmm. I really enjoyed that,
and the way that it's filmed is really cool too.
Mm-hmm.
I was reading an interview with J.J. Perry. I think it was on RØDEcaster.com,
mm-hmm.
and they were talking about how he filmed some of the fight scenes, and the vampires in this are very like contortion-y.
Yeah.
They like twist around in these weird ways. And he was saying the first vampire fight with the old lady,
mm-hmm.
there were 4 actors that were doubles for that old lady.
Oh, wow.
They had the regular actor, they had a fight actor, they had a contortionist actor,
wow.
And I forget what the 4th one was, but like a stunt contortionist, basically.
Nice.
But I think just the different levels of that just were just another level of this that makes it stand out.
Oh, absolutely. That, like, the care that went into that, like that, and I think that the juxtaposition of the action like style with this supernatural element of these like contortionist creatures that are going crazy and overpowered and everything, I think that really mixed well together to just really make it a fun, entertaining movie. And that really stood out to me.
Yeah.
A couple other things about it that I didn't quite like really was I felt like the main vampire, like her whole thing, like it's hard to say, because I feel like that as much as the kind of world building was there in the movie, like between like the Union and the vampire presence and everything, I feel like there could have been a lot more done to really delve into that, but instead the movie kind of seemed a little bit more preoccupied with the family drama with Jamie Foxx and his ex-wife and daughter, and his clashing with Dave Franco's character, and the kind of the very stereotypical like stick up his ass authority figure guy. Like I feel like it has a lot of moving pieces, and I wish that there was a little bit more with the main vampire villain. Oh, and also his neighbor. That whole thing felt like it was very much like a complete afterthought.
Yeah.
That was kind of irritating. We can talk about that in spoilers, but that, and then the I don't know. That, and like the reason why he was kind of expelled from the union is just very much we don't get enough of his backstory, I think.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah. I think anytime this kind of like fall, anytime this tries to lean on character stuff, it just, I don't know if I'd say it falls apart, but it's just not as strong.
Yeah, I completely agree. Yeah. Do you want to jump into spoilers, or is there anything else we can talk about in non-spoiler?
I don't think so. I mean, it's pretty clear that there will be a sequel to this, or at least they were trying to get a sequel.
Yeah.
Just there were references to like other vampires that are bigger and badder, and so there's probably going to be a sequel sooner or later.
Yeah.
Which I'd be okay with if this cast returns.
Honestly, yeah, me too. I mean, if the freaking old guard can get a sequel, then yeah, give Day Shift a sequel.
Right.
And honestly, I mean, the chemistry, the energy and chemistry of Jamie Foxx and Dave Franco, I want to see them paired up again. I want to see further adventures with them.
Sure.
Yeah. It's overall, it's a pretty, I mean, it's a Netflix action movie. So.
Yeah, and if I cared more, I would nitpick how Dave Franco's character is a little shallow. But yeah. I mean, he's just there to be a sidekick and comic relief, so it's fine.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And I think he plays it well enough. I think he has a lot of fun with the role. His like introduction
was pretty funny.
Yeah, with the yogurt.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that was great. Oh yeah. Yeah, so do you want to go into spoilers for Day Shift?
Sure.
All right, great. We're going to go into spoilers for Day Shift. Before we do that, what was your rating for it?
I believe I rated it 3.5 stars.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. I have it at, you know what? I already published the review. So yeah, I have it at 3 stars. So 3 stars. I enjoyed it, and I would see a sequel. Yeah.
Sorry, I have not rated it yet, but I'm pretty sure it'll be either be 3.5 or 3 stars.
Nice. All right, awesome. Well, we're gonna go ahead and go into spoilers for Day Shift. Check the show notes for timestamps, all of that, but I'm going to play a clip from the trailer. When we come back, we're going to be spoiling Day Shift, which is currently streaming on Netflix.
Vampire hunting is a business. Cut necks and cash your checks. Well, things have changed since you got your ass kicked out the union.
If I don't come up with 10K, my wife and my daughter are going to move to Florida.
Hi, Dad. You're late again.
And the union is the only place that could give me that kind of money.
Your record is chock full of incidents. But he's a new man. One last chance.
This is your final warning.
Let's get cracking.
All right, so spoilers on for Day Shift. Ben, the first thing that I want to kind of talk about, we did not talk about Snoop Dogg. How did you feel about Snoop Dogg in this movie, and what do you feel is implied by the ending? Yeah.
Yeah, I thought he was fun. I mean, I don't think you're really you shouldn't be expecting too much out of a Snoop Dogg performance.
Right.
And he does what he needs to here.
Yeah.
It's just it's always fun to see him, and he seems like he's having fun here, so why not? And the reveal that he's still alive at the end is fine with me. I don't care.
I couldn't tell if it's supposed to imply that he's a vampire now or if he just survived that, but I don't know. I also thought he was fine. He was fun. Yeah. Like there are moments where it just feels like he's playing himself in a lot of ways, like much so, like it's stunt casting. It's something that's not like, he's not literally playing himself, but he's Snoop Dogg in it. Like even when his like final moment, he's like West Side for Life, and then he does that. I'm like, okay, Snoop, all right.
Yeah.
But I think that the movie is entertaining enough that his performance fits. Like his character fits pretty well. I do think that he's a little underwritten. Like again, the kind of whole backstory aspect of the movie, I wish that we had a little bit more of. Because like he pops up and then suddenly it's like he's dictating Bud's re-entrance into the union and everything, and I'm like, I don't understand why. Like it's fine, but okay.
And then that's like the last that you see of him until the end.
Pretty much, yeah. Yep. So yeah. Dave Franco being changed into a vampire, that was pretty fun and unexpected.
Yeah.
I enjoyed that, and I really liked how, again, like I kind of feel like Dave Franco is kind of the standout of the entire movie, honestly. And I really like the kind of change up of his performance. Like his whole demeanor in the movie is hilarious to me, and it is pretty standard. It is pretty stereotypical and everything of just a pencil pushing desk jockey, but his change up in that, the energy, the way that it changes is really satisfying to me, and he becomes even more entertaining and endearing after he's changed into a vampire.
Yeah. Yeah, and I forgot to bring this up in non-spoilers, but I again, with the world building, I kind of like how they go into this, how there's like a dichotomy of different types of vampires. Yeah. And even though it doesn't really factor into it all that much, it's still interesting that they put that in there. Yeah, definitely. Know? And it does pay off pretty well with the nest thing, where they're like, oh, we have all of these different vampires coexisting. That's crazy. I just wish that the main vampire's motivations and everything was better, like and more clear. Or that she was more than just some, just an evil vampire.
Exactly. Yeah. Another thing I want to talk about is the neighbor. That is the weakest point of the whole movie for me, honestly. Like, he runs into her. Yeah. Like, he runs into her, and then the movie kind of forgets about her entirely. And then she comes back up, and it's like, oh, I'm kind of a deus ex machina for the final showdown and everything. Like, now you have all of this information, and, it just felt very sloppy.
Yeah, I kind of figured when she was introduced that she would either be a love interest for him, but then I remembered that he was, still trying to get with his ex-wife or his separated wife or whatever. Yeah. I either figured that, or she would turn out to be either a vampire or turn into a vampire, and he would, I don't know, get betrayed by her, or not get betrayed by her, but put more trust in her than, I don't know.
Yeah, I definitely agree. It just felt like a very sloppy part of the story for me. Yeah, it just didn't work. Yeah. What else can we talk about in spoilers?
I don't know.
Yeah, the brothers. That's another.
Yeah. I wish that they were in it more.
Me too.
Because that fight scene with them was awesome.
Oh, it was so cool.
That was probably my favorite part of the movie.
Mine too. And I feel like it's very much, and again, this is honestly why I can't really bring myself to rate it higher than 3 stars, is because it does feel like an algorithm movie, and it does feel like a franchise starter movie, almost to the point that it feels like a proof of concept thing. Like, okay, well, this world has a bunch of vampires, and like we have the secret union and everything, and there's a lot of like bureaucracy here, and we can introduce these new characters at any point, and it's like now it's all lived in. It just feels more like they're trying to prove that they can build a franchise out of this rather than organically build like a thing for one movie there. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, if the freaking German guy or whatever from Army of the Dead can get his own spin-off movie, then
oh god, I forgot about that.
Surely there will be a million spin-offs and sequels and whatever for this.
Did that movie come out?
It did.
Wow.
Last year.
Okay. What was it called?
Oh, I don't remember.
Yeah.
Something Army something or Dead something.
Yeah.
It had half of Army of the Dead in its title. I don't remember.
Okay. Wow. Yeah. Okay. Oh, was it?
Yeah. I never watched it.
Yeah. Obviously I didn't watch it either. Yeah. Army of Thieves.
Right. Yeah.
Huh. Interesting. Yeah. So I don't know. Yeah. I think that there's definitely a chance for them to make a reasonably okay franchise out of this.
Right.
But I was pleasantly surprised with this movie. So.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Anything else, or should we kind of start wrapping up?
No, I don't think I have anything not worth mentioning.
Nice. All right. Well, that is our review of Day Shift. I rated it 3 stars. Ben, you rated it 3 stars as well.
Sure.
Yeah. And yeah, I have a review on obsessiveviewer.com. Check the show notes for a link and everything. Yeah, I think that should do it. I think we'll forego potpourri because I got to wake up early tomorrow. But yeah, that's our episode. Ben, thank you for joining me. And once again, if you could tell people where to find you online and what all stuff you have on themoviestate.com.
Yeah, just find me online through themoviestate.com. Just has links to all my socials. This week's poll question is, again, what is your favorite Steven Spielberg movie? And the week after that will be something new every Monday.
Nice.
And as far as reviews, nothing concrete as of yet. More comics reviews. I'm sure I'll throw in a movie or TV show review or something coming out soon. Just set it as your homepage and just keep clicking the refresh button.
Nice. I did see that you posted a review of the Amazon Prime League of Their Own.
Yes.
Yeah, I didn't read it. Sorry, but how? Just real quick, how is it?
This is. I'll fall on the sword for this one, but I got screeners for the entire season, which is 8 episodes, and I had thought that they were just going to be dropping 3 episodes at first, but it turns out it's the entire season.
Oh, wow.
So I only watched the 3, and I was going to do episodic reviews after those 3, but now I don't have time to do that. So,
yeah.
but yeah, the first 3 episodes are good.
Nice.
Darcy Carden and Abby Jacobson are really good.
Nice.
And there's I think her name is Shantae Adams.
Okay.
Is pretty good as well. But it's basically a longer riff on the movie.
Okay.
I'm still excited to watch the rest of it, but I think it's okay.
Nice. Awesome. All right, well, I'll put a link to that in the show notes as well. All right, well, I think that will do it for this episode of The Obsessive Viewer. Once again, follow Ben's work at themoviestate.com and follow him on Twitter at themoviestate and on Letterboxd at Ben Sears. So I'm going to go ahead and play us out. Thank you once again, Ben. And thank you guys for listening to us. Also, check out Patreon. I should probably promote that. Patreon.com/obsessiveviewer. Got Stephen King book reviews. I'm going to be doing reviews of Stephen King's new book that's coming out September 6th as I read it. So check that out. Patreon.com/obsessiveviewer. Thank you guys, and we'll see you in the next episode. And now, enjoy this short clip from our Patreon exclusive RSS feed. For the full clip and more exclusive Patreon content, such as early access to episodes, TV, book, and movie reviews and reaction recordings, commentary tracks, and Patreon potpourri episodes, go to patreon.com/obsessiveviewer and become a patron at the minimum rate of $1 per month. Thank you and enjoy.
I've watched a decent amount of TV this year.
Nice.
And I actually just finished this show called The Bear. Have you heard anything about that? On FX?
Yes. I don't know much about it except that it's about a guy who goes back to his hometown to run a restaurant, something?
Yes.
Okay.
Pretty much, yeah, in Chicago.
Okay.
And he was this like high-end James Beard award-winning chef, and he goes back to his family restaurant in Chicago and takes it over and deals with all the stress and everything of that.
Okay.
And it's a pretty decent show. It's really interesting, and I feel like I remember seeing people like on Twitter saying that it's kind of like uncut gems for TV.
Oh.
And I don't know if I really agree with that, but there are definitely moments where it feels like very stressful and where you can feel the stress of the characters, kind of like in Uncut Gems.
Yeah.
But I still think it's pretty interesting. I don't know if it'll be like on my best of the year list at the end of the year, but it's worth considering at least.
This podcast was edited and produced by Matt Hurt and presented by ObsessiveViewer.com. You can find links to all of our shows at ObsessiveViewer.com/podcasts. For exclusive bonus content, including reviews, commentaries, and B-roll episodes, you can subscribe to our Patreon at patreon.com/ObsessiveViewer. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you in the next episode.